Hi, this is Pastor Clark here at Sardis Missionary Baptist Church. I want to take this time to thank you for worshiping with us via social media on Sunday during this time of COVID-19. You're always welcome to join in with us as we experience Christ, share his word, and build believers, even here during this time. Thanks again. Please feel free to join us.
Amen. Thank God for our presence on today. Certainly want to express to you our gratitude that we often express to God and to you for your support of our services during this time of sheltering in place that prevents us from, as a people, worshiping together in the same space. Thank you for your regular viewership of our services. Today I'm also thrilled and excited to have present with us a portion of our deacons who have come out to support with their physical presence, and of course they are exercising caution with their mask on and also with their social distancing. But again, to the chairman of deacons, former chair of deacons, and to all of the deacons who have come out today, let me say to you, thank you. I want to talk about today, briefly in your hearing, I will make you fishers of men. I will make you fishers of men. Mark chapter 1, verses 17 and 18 reads, Then Jesus said to them, Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men. They immediately left their nets and followed him. The grass withers and the flowers fade, the word of our God shall stand forever. Mark chapter 1 presents us with an awesome opportunity to peep into the life of Jesus Christ, to see something about the way in which he lived his life, addressing issues, influencing communities and spaces, and impacting the world in which he lived. I hope by our life's end, all of us will be pretty much guilty of the same, addressing issues that need to be addressed, influencing institutions and communities based upon the helpful ways in which we perceive progress is to be pursued and made. Thirdly, I hope that our lives will be meaningful and impactful. Mark chapter 1 talks about the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's the start of his story, wherein Mark himself takes ownership of narration of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Hopefully, and perhaps, there are people who are taking special note of how we live and will have something to say good about us, not only when we transpire or when we expire and transition, but hopefully there will be someone who can say something good about our story while we are yet alive and still live. Mark chapter 1, verses 17 through 18, Mark picks up the word of Jesus Christ, wherein he speaks to two businessmen, two fishers, two fishermen. And he says to them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. The words of the Lord in this passage today pulsate with potential, and they pulsate with power, and they hold and or posit or pocket great deals of progression. If ever we have wanted our lives to progress, if ever we have wanted and or needed our lives to feel the power of Jesus Christ in them, and if ever we have aspire to have the presence of God to be not periodically visited upon our lives, but regularly in our lives. This text suggests how those things might be done. Mark takes up the responsibility and the authorial right to narrate this transaction between Jesus and these two fishermen. The text says that Jesus looks at two engaged fishermen and he says to them, "Follow me, and I will make you to become fishers of men." When we accept the Lord's call and request, when we respond to the Lord's desire to divest ourselves of that which has for so long maintained our commitment and our attention, which is not in and of itself altogether bad, but it runs the risk of diverting our attention from the work and the will and the desire of God. Jesus says to these fishermen, "Follow me, and I will make you to become fishers of men." The text is very powerful. It is very poignant. It is very particular and pointed as it relates to what happens in the aftermath of Jesus' request, his offer, his invitation to these two fishermen to follow him. He says, "Follow me," and everything else becomes my responsibility. It becomes my work to make you to become something different than what you currently are. Listen, I'm not saying any of us, or I'm not saying about any of us, that what we do now is not noble. It is not good. It does not have some noble end or benefit. But Jesus says that what he will make you will be, in my own interpretive estimation and opinion, far greater than what you ever thought you could be. And it will prove to you that you can do far more than what you ever thought you could do. He says, "I will make you fishers of men." In this text, we can clearly see by way of Jesus is locating them at work, laboring as they would be normally, casting and repairing their nets, taking in a draught or a catch, and on some occasions lamenting that they have been unsuccessful and have not been able to take in any and go home with none. Jesus says, this day, in addressing these two fishermen, he says, "Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men." While these soon-to-be disciples were concerned about catching fish, Jesus was concerned about changing their lives. And whether or not we admit it albeit we may not admit it, that all of us are yet desiring life to improve, to get better, for life itself to take on some image other than what it currently is. Often we say within the context of our own communication in the church and in the community about how we are desiring even now for things to be in some way different. We would say, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done differently then. That has caused me to wish and lament and bemoan the reality of what I have now. You see, whatever you have, it has the potential of becoming better. It all depends upon whose custody and care you commended, or whose custody and or care you commit your life, your resources, and your very body too. He says, if you follow me, I will do everything else that is necessary to yielding and bringing about the outcome of a change and an awesome reality in your life. If only you were to give your person to him, to give your possessions to him, and give your perspective to him. And that's what this text is about today. These soon-to-be disciples engaging and or living out a response to the Lord's offer to make them fishers of men. When you think about your own life, when you think about the Lord's great global invitation, are you able to inspect the outcome of such choice to see if it has yielded or resulted in the Lord doing what he said would be done? The great global invitation, wherein Jesus says in the Gospel of Matthew, he says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Are you able to see that your burden has been removed, or that your burden has been made easier to bear? Now, if you understood that the Lord's yoke is easy, and in comparison to what we do, have you discovered that the Lord's burden is light? I mean, there ought to be some regular, and there ought to be some scheduled examination of your own life, wherein you are celebrating the reality of the Lord's ability to do what he said he would do. I mean, none of us would want to work for someone and to be without pay. And Jesus tells us in the invitation in Matthew, he says, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." And we ought to be able to experientially express, say, and declare to the Lord, of the Lord to others, yes, his yoke is easy and his burden is light. Here in Mark chapter 1, verses 17 and 18, Jesus says to these yet to be disciples, he says, follow me, and I will make you fishermen of men. Following after the Lord is a work of voluntary participation. You are not made to follow him. You are not forced to follow him. You are not cajoled into following him. You are not coerced into following him. Jesus just gives the invitation. Follow me, and I will do the rest. Taking our lead, our example, our instruction, our guide from the Lord, as each and every one of us will, is the result of a voluntary choice. Change has been wrought in my life since the Lord has come into my heart. We often reflect in regalement and in excitement about the evidences of change in our lives since we made Jesus our choice. Walking in the footsteps of Jesus is a voluntary choice. It is the work of personal decision. It is the work of my own daily decision to follow Jesus and to make him my choice. And my brothers and sisters, on today, if you're going to follow Jesus, it's going to require of you, first, participation. Jesus says, follow me. It is one's own exercise of will to follow the Lord, to be a student of the Lord, and to be up close and personal with the Lord. You've got to exercise your own decision to participate in the process of what it means to follow the Lord. We cannot say that we are going to follow him and never put forth an effort to prove to ourselves and to others that we are men and women of the Lord. Being made fishermen requires your participation to do your part in order that you will bring about, aim, the goal, and the objective of being a fisherman of men. Just as these yet to be disciples were fishing, they were skilled in how to mend nets, cast nets. They were skilled in how to catch fish. Jesus says to them, I'm going to expand upon your knowledge of how to be a skillful fisherman, incorporating into your skill set the ability to now catch men. concerned about a catch, but I'm concerned with change. What a wonderful change has come over me. The Lord specializes in change. Your life ought to be a living example, testament, and witness that you are not what you want to be. Because all of us are always aspiring to be more and more useful for the Lord. But everybody's life ought to be a testament, an example, a witness to the change that has happened in your life. What wonderful change has been wrought in my life since the Lord has come into my heart. Becoming fishermen requires your own participation, the part you're supposed to play, in understanding that you may not go about it the way in which others go about it, but you've got to make a decision how best it is accomplishable and attainable for you to be the best disciple in response to your acceptance of the offer and invitation of the Lord. Church says collectively, yes to your will, yes to your way. Lord, I will follow, I will trust, and I will obey. Becoming a fisherman of men is about exercising your own will in participation in the process of becoming who and what you are intended to be in the Lord. He says, follow me. Then that coordinating conjunction says, and I will make you fishers of men. Medea would say, there ain't no secret what God can do. What he's done for others, he can do the same thing for you. And I don't know about you, but as I read the Holy Writ, and I see places and times and occasions wherein the Lord has shown up for his people and shown out, who wouldn't want to experience something of the visitation of the power and the spirit and the presence of God to bring about some singular outcome? And I'm not saying the Lord has not shown up in any of our lives, but I'm here just to re-emphasize and to reiterate and to reinforce that the Lord always shows up. And he does so on time. Not only does the Lord show up on time, but the Lord shows up in time. Medea would say he may not come when you want him, but he's always on time, which means that he knows where you are. He knows what you're up against. He knows what you are facing. He knows what you are going through. He may not come when you want him. And the word may is in the subjunctive case or voice or mood, which means that it may be that he says it is not time yet, because he could be very well working on the situation, or he could very well be working on us. But God has the ambidextrous capacity and ability to work on this prohibit. One thing does not preclude or prevent him from attending to something else. I'm glad that he can handle this and that. He's ambidextrous, I told you. He's ambidextrous. He can handle this and that at the same time. Becoming fishers of men requires your own participation. You got to get your own net. You got to get your own equipment, your own essentials, your own tools, if you're going to be guilty and are faithful as fishermen of men. Never will forget, or never shall forget one summer, my granddaddy used to put roofs atop houses there in my hometown in Louisiana, in Natchitoches, and one job he had, he allowed me and my twin brother Bert to go to work with him and his crew. His crew was my Uncle Jimmy, Dina, John Dale, and Daddy. One day he took us, he allowed us, afforded us the opportunity to work on that occasion, and we were excited. We were happy. We're going to make some money, have our own money. And on top of it all, we were excited because they were on top of the roof. They were on top of a house there. Bird and I was up on top of the house. And I was here excited to be on the work site that day. And granddaddy said, okay, where are the nails? Where is your apron? Where is your hammer? Where are your tacks? He said, because this is a work site up here. It's not a playground. In other words, we had to re-envision what the purpose and what the aim, objective, and the outcome was of the work that we had been permitted to participate in. We had to refocus our energy and our insight on what it was that we were permitted there to participate in and to do. You can't be an effective worker if you do not have the necessary tools. I hasten to say now, when God calls us, he does not call us because we are qualified. He calls us and then we become qualified. He does not call the qualified, he qualifies the call. When God calls us to be fishers of men, he expects us to do our part. We've got to engage in our own personal exercise of will to be a participant in the process. You can't get to heaven and have never participated in the process of being transformed into the product and the pleasure of what it means to please God. You can't get to heaven any kind of way. Church says that heaven is a prepared place for a prepared people. Jesus says, I'm going away in John chapter 4, listen, to prepare a place for you. It's a prepared place, my brothers and sisters, for a prepared people. You just will not happen upon heaven. If you go home to be with God, it's going to be because you have participated in the process of following after Jesus in making the Lord your choice. of men involves your own participation. It involves an exercise of personal participation to follow the Lord. If nobody else goes, still you are required to participate, to follow after the Lord. Church would sing the song, I'll go if I have to go by myself. If the situation or the condition or the climate requires that I go all by myself, we would say I'll go if I have to go by myself. In tandem with Isaiah's question or response to the Lord, who will I send and who will go for us? Isaiah seemed to have said in response to that question, here am I, send me, I'll go. I'm a willing participant in the process of following after the Lord. Not only does it involve personal exercise of participating, but also requires an examination of your own perception. You see, they perceived the importance of their day was to come home after having gotten a catch. The Lord said, no, it's not about catching fish. It's about preparing my people for what I promised to give them, not only in the future, but in the immediacy of their own situation. Becoming fishermen of men requires your participation, but also requires you to examine your own perception. You've got to ask yourself, perhaps like these disciples were made to do in comparison of what they were doing, in light of what they had decided that they would do. You see, a lot of us have the wrong perception. We have the misapprehension of what it is that God wants us to do. Sometimes we think that all God wants us to do is go to church, hobnob and fraternize and socialize with those who are already saved. But the Lord is calling us as agents of change, as we understand it to be when we examine and when we inspect our own perception. Oh yes, it's what we have done historically, it's what we've done previously, because we say because of what has happened in the transformation and in the metamorphosis of our own thinking, we say that I'm not what I used to be. But thank God I'm not what I used to be. And I would say I'm not what I want to be, but I thank God I'm not what I used to be, but please be patient with me. For God is not through with me yet. All of our participation is required in becoming fishers of men, but all of our perceptions are up for examination as it relates to what God is calling us from and what He is calling us to. Say that again. examination is required, but also the examination of our perception is also desired. Because you got to understand that what God has for you is far greater than you could ever imagine. And if He calls you to a specific place, location, locale, and work, what God has for you is far better than what you have already, far greater than what or any of what you can imagine. Jesus says, "Come and follow me." Your participation is required. I'll make you fishermen of men. And an evaluation or examination of what He means by that should persist. But thirdly and finally, in being made or in becoming fishermen of men, you've got to understand that verse 18 says, "An act of decision or a decisive act of decision must be made." You've got to choose the Lord while you can. The old church would say, in reflection of John chapter 8, we must work. Urgency is there. We must work. I must work while it is day, because when night comes, no man can work. Jesus calls the yet to be disciples, the men who are busy at work, at labor and fishing, and He says, "Follow me, and I will make you to become fishers of men." The text says in verse 18, "And immediately they dropped their nets and they followed Him." Now, that is something that we ought to become excited about. We ought to have some degree of regalement about. These people, in the face of their own life's work, made a decision to make the Lord their choice. And I'm sure, not to lessen the impact of the story, I'm sure they had heard about Jesus and had heard what He could do and what He had done. And because they were familiar with the story of Jesus' life, they could, upon reflecting on their own life, anticipate better or an improvement if they were to give the Lord their life. And my brother and sister, today, I don't know where you are, what you are facing, what you're dealing with, what you're having to go through, but I'm here to tell you that life can be made better if you make Jesus your choice. And if you make Jesus your choice, He will turn your midnights into days. He will transform your life. He will change your life. He will give immediate significance to your life. He'll make you smile when ain't nobody talking to you. He'll make you cry when ain't nobody bothering you. Well, the old church would say, can't nobody do it like Jesus. Can't nobody do it like the Lord can. Because the Lord has come into my heart. Oh, what change has been wrought in my life since the Lord has come into my heart. And I'm here to tell you today, these 3 simple steps, these 3 simple acts, these 3 simple points will bring about change on an indescribable way in your life. Participate in the process of becoming a fisher of men. Don't leave it all to the Lord. There's a part that you must play. And also examine your own perception. Maybe you'll come to the question of the Lucan gospel, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Examine your own perception, because that's what the Lord is getting at. If he can get us to see like he sees, and if he can get us to think like he thinks, then this world will be a much better place. Finally, your acceptance of his invitation ought to mimic that of the fisherman's response. Immediately drop what you have and follow Christ. Tomorrow is not promised, and today is already far spent. Yesterday is money that's already spent. And tomorrow very well may not be. It's a promissory note. But today is all we have is ready cash. Make a decision today to follow Jesus. Allow him to make you fishermen of men, and allow him to change the perspective of your heart. Amen. On the heels of having shared this word with you on today, it has become the church's custom, its tradition and habit to allow people to make an expression or to give an expression of their own faith. In responding to the power, presence, and the function of the Spirit of God. If you're here today and the Lord has laid upon your heart to make a decision to participate in the process of becoming a disciple, why don't you give God your heart? You can raise your hands where you are, or you can yield to the Lord where you and tell the Lord that you have accepted his request to follow him and to become a fisherman of men. Make that decision today to become a willing participant, to become a constant examiner of your own perspective, knowing that what God has is far better than anything you could ever imagine. And thirdly, you've got to make a decision to make a decisive action. That is to say yes to your will and yes to your way. If that has been your decision on today, please call the church's office, inform us of your decision to say yes to the Lord, of being a participant in the process of becoming a fisherman of men, and constantly improve your perception in finding out what it is that the Lord would have you to know and what the Lord would have you to say. Thank you for your viewership on today. May the Lord forever be your choice.